record, my lord. Mr. Madlala. Indeed, your description of the second intruder in the house, the gentleman who you said had dreadlocks, accord with the description that this court also had from Mr. Mtogo's, you see, Twala.
Was it the first or the second intruder?
My apologies, my lord. The first intruder who had dreadlocks. In
What
other
language? I hear you.
Thank you. And furthermore, your description of that very same suspect, who is the first intruder, is also according or accords with what Mr. Ms. Tletnes Kumalo would come and tell this court about how the suspect was.
I hear that as well.
Actually, this is what Tletnes Kumalo would come and tell this court. I'm taking this from one of the statements that she made, where she says the first one that was carrying a firearm had short dreadlocks that hang up to his neck.
Yes, I hear that as well, advocate.
Does that accord with what you've just told to this court?
Well, I was merely presenting the content of my statement before this honorable court. As far as other statement is concerned, I did not read their statement.
I'm not trying to refer you to your statement or their statement. All that I'm saying is your description that you gave to this court about the first intruder who had dreadlocks accords with the description that was given to this court by Mtogozi Sitwala and the description that Madlala, Ms. Kumalo, Tletnes Kumalo would come and give this court.
Yes, I hear you.
Thank you. You said, from the questioning of on behalf of first and the second accused here, that the item that you saw in the possession of this first suspect, now the person with dreadlocks, was a firearm, and it looked to you then it was a firearm that had a wheel. That's so?
That is correct. Yes, I hear you.
Thank you. Now just be frank and honest with the court. Frank and honest with this court. Would that have been a revolver?
I don't know. I don't know what type of firearm is a revolver.
I know, Mr. Madlala, that's a cut and dry answer. But really, don't you know what a revolver is? Haven't you seen a revolver?
That is English. Perhaps you can tell that to me in Zulu.
In Zulu, it is called Ivolovolo. Haven't you heard of the word Ivolovolo? Not to crash, I'm not talking crash, I'm talking Ivolovolo.
Yes, I would hear that word Ivolovolo.
Really, don't you know what a revolver looks like?
I have never known it before. What type of a firearm is a revolver?
Thank you. But now, this one, a distinctive feature of it, it looked like it had a wheel. Yes.
Yes, I've already said that. Yes. And when I looked at it, I saw it from the front portion of it.
Thank you. Now, you gave a description of the second intruder, and you described him as the second intruder. You described him, actually I don't know whether it was a he or a she, but you described the second intruder as follows. You said you described him in terms of his height. You described him in terms of the beard that was trimmed around his lips and a little bit on his lower jaw, on his lower
Wamchaza
lip.
ke ngaleyo ndlela.
Yebo, but advocate ngimkhombile wathi awazi ukuthi is a she or he ngimkhombile mos advocate bukhona.
But advocate, I did point this person out. Why would you then say that you are not sure as to whether it is he or she? Right when you were present, I was able to point the person out.
No, look, I'm talking about the suspect as when you are seeing him at the scene, not what is transpiring here at court.
Okay. All right.
So those are all the features through which you're saying you were able to identify him.
Yes, besides impawu ngiyambona nje. Ngingachaza futhi lokho.
And besides those features, I could see him. I saw him before when he was in front of me.
Thank you. Now let us stretch this a bit. You know the trimming around, just before I go on, I see there's a trimming around your bed there. Would the trimming have been what you having there on you?
Singakayi kudeke ngoba sizoyilula nje le. Yabona ukuthi nawe ke utrimile nje lapho. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Now, you would agree with me that the trimming is not a permanent feature. The little bit on the lower lip is also not a permanent feature.
Yebo kuyiqiniso lokho.
Nalezino ley'ngxenyana nje ngaphandle kwempela.
Yebo
Yes, it
kuyiqiniso.
is indeed so.
Now, let's assume, because you've just said those are some of the qualities that enable you to identify the person that you say you saw as a second intruder. Assume those descriptive features are taken away. Would you still be in a position to identify him?
Isha akundi imbungculi chiscope ngisangamkhomba.
Even if he could be shaving off his head, or what we call the chisco, I can still point him out.
Thank you. Now, this incident happened in 2014, not so?
Les kama kwesenzeka in 2014 anjalo.
Yebo kunjalo.
It is so.
To be precise, 26 October 2014.
26 October 2014.
Yebo.
Yes.
Now, again, when for the first time after 2014, did you see the person who you think could have been the person that you saw on the 26th of October 2014 being the second intruder?
Ngambona ngosuku lokuqala ngizotestify la ecourt.
I saw him on the first day that I came to testify here in court again.
Do you still remember when was it?
Noma ngakhumbula usuku ukuthi wakunini, but ngambona uqala ukumbona ngambona la ecourt.
Even though I cannot remember the day, the exact date as to when was that, but the very first time, or the first time that I saw him after that incident was right here in court.
You know, I would be assisting you if I knew the date and the year. Unfortunately, I don't know it.
Yes. Siyafana
Yes,
now.
yes, even myself, I don't have those details.
Now, on the basis of what you've just said, that you can't remember the date and probably the year, would you then agree with me that with the lapse of time, memory fades away?
Ngeke ngakuchaza lokho ekuqaleni ngikuvumi lokho ezinye izinto ngayikhohlwa ezinye izinto awuzikhohlwa.
I won't agree with you. I won't really agree with you because certain things you can forget, but other things you can't forget them.
Mr. Madlala, don't be on the defensive. Is it not a natural thing that with the lapse of time, memory fades away?
Yes, ikhona into ethi izoyikhohlwa ngiyakuvuma lokho.
Yes,
Kodwa
I agree.
le incident angikhohlwa yena.
Yes, I agree with you that there are certain things that one can forget. But pertinent to this incident, that one I cannot forget.
Thank you. Let us try to revive our memories of when did you testify for the first time after this incident having taken place in 2014? Could that have been in 2020, this year, 2023?
When what was happening?
When he testified for the first time here at court after the incident.
Yes. Angiphindela futhi.
Where is coming since
2014.
2014.
Yes.
Tike wena ke wase uza la enkantolo uzothola ubufakazi bakho.
Yes.
Ngabe ke mawuza okokuqala uzothola ubufakazi bakho la enkantolo. Beku kulo nyaka lo 2023.
No.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't 2023.
More or less, when was that?
siyikhulumile le nto ukuthi noma ngingasekho sure but kwakusuku lami lokuqala ngifikile la ecourt.
We did speak about that. So that even though I cannot remember the date, but it was my first day coming here at court.
Thank you. Madam, I'm not so sure if the state can assist us with the first day on which you came to testify, because I don't want to keep on repeating the same thing when the state can actually come to our rescue at this point.
What does it change? Because he can't remember the date, but what he can remember is the factual fact, if I must be tautologist, that it was the first time he came to testify in this court.
Yes, madam.
That's what he says.
I don't dispute that, but I'm slowly but surely trying to drive to a certain point. Now, I don't want to put the cart before the horses, my lord.
You must tell him the date, because he can't remember.
Which is the reason why I'm asking from the court, my lord, whether will it be a train smash if I really request the state to assist us with that date.
Mr. Maloyi,
We quickly checking that now. It appeared it was September of 2022.
Thank you, madam. My colleague has come to my and your rescue about the
This is it.
That is September 2022. That is September 2022.
All right.
Now, would you also agree with me that it is a natural phenomenon that when years go by, a person loses certain traits in terms of their identification and characters?
Angeke ngakuvuma, angeke ngakuphika futhi lokho.
I would not concur. Neither will I dispute that as well.
Let me put it this way. Actually, this is what I meant to say. That as a person is growing, or as the years go by, it is a natural phenomenon that how they look 10 years ago will not be exactly the same on how they look after 10 years. As it is in court, my lord.
I don't know whether such a general statement is correct to put to witness to comment. I think it can best be left for argument, but if counsel can perhaps indicate what the basis of his proposition is so that this witness will be able to testify, but absent that, my lord, we submit that it's too general a statement for this witness to comment on.
It is the court, my lord. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the question. What I'm trying to siphon from this witness is, it's not a natural thing that when a person is growing old, basically will change. By a swab, it's like a person changes from who they are. From 10 years ago, I'm not specifically referring to why we have pointed to this court. It's just a natural thing. Does that not happen naturally?
Ya ngiyakuvumela lapho but usamncane lo. Akayikho into engashintsha mhlawumbe usenenyamele usamncane. Usamncane in the time.
I agree with you.
The time benganawo nanomzimba manje singiyabona ngathi the time ubusamncanyanyana futhi yes.
Thank you.
But akushintshi buso.
I agree with you. He's still very young. Not to such an extent that he would be hanging or baggy skins on his face or baggy skin on his face. Yes, I would want to perhaps concede to the fact that back then he was a little slimmer in terms of his physique. But right now he's gained a bit of weight. But nothing much has changed about him.
Ngiyakuvumela lokho lokho hayi ukuthi
On
ngiyaphikisa.
that very note, I agree with you. I don't dispute it.
You just mentioned in the same line, the same sentence in your answer, that there's a change that is happening in this accused person, in accused number 2. Then he was slim, now he's a bit chubby. Is that not a change?
Angikuphikisi nawe njengoba sengisho ukuthi ngiyakuvumela.
Thank you.
I do not dispute that. As I've already indicated that I agree. I concur with you.
Thank you, sir. as it is a court now, but I think I've opened my notes on a very wrong page. What are my spectacles? Oh. Thank you. You had told this court that you had come from Durban to Gauteng and you had an injury on your toe.
100% right.
You are 100% correct.
Now, were you using two crutches or you used only one crutch?
Ungasebenzisa omabili.
Both of the crutches were used by myself.
Thank you. Did you perhaps have now that's that weight, a plaster of Paris or a castor plaster? I see you laughing. I think you had it somewhere.
Yeah, bukhona la emnweni lo omkhulu onyawo. Then right around bekubanjwe la ukuthi kunganyakazi, lo ujikela unyawo kanje ujikeleza ubambe unyawo ukuthi kunganyakazi la. Yes.
Yeah, I had that plaster on that big toe,
Okay.
as well as the rest of the foot was to immobilize that very part of the foot, so that the big toe should not be affected by movements.
Thank you. No, I hear you well. I hear you well.
It was all right there. It was all right.
Now let us try to revisit the scene in the house. Now, according to your version, is that as the squeamishness, the wrangling in the house happened, you basically were fighting. I mean, when I say you, I mean personally yourself. You basically fought against the second intruder.
Yebo kunjani?
Yes, it is so.
And Senzo as well, as the wrangling was happening in the kitchen, he also was holding the hand of the second intruder.
Yebo kunjani?
That is so.
And it is your testimony that it could have been by mistake that Zandi told this court that you picked up a crutch and hit the person that you attempted to hit with those crutches. In fact, you never used the crutches, you only used the clenched fist.
Yes, ngasebenzisa isibhakela haze ngisebenzisa icrutch.
Yes, I never used a crutch. I used the clenched fist.
So I assume that it didn't come to your mind that you should pick up the crutch and use it as a traditional weapon.
Akungifikelanga.
It didn't cross my mind.
Thank you, sir. Now, at that moment when you and Senzo were fighting the second intruder, could you realize what was happening to the first intruder, the gentleman with the firearm, or the person? Let's not call him gentleman. The person who had a firearm.
Angibonanga cause babe ngala side lami mina ngangila sibhekene nalo. So ngangizwa nje umsindo wezinto angibonanga.
No, I couldn't observe what was happening. They were just on my side, adjacent to me, behind me. And mine was to focus on this commotion that was in front of me.
Okay, thank you. Let me borrow from the process that is normally used by my colleagues to indicate exactly the points on the pictures where you were and everything. So you can be past the kitchen. As it is a court matter, I'm just requesting my colleagues to come out the inside of the kitchen. I don't know what exactly. I think 40 number 15 will. Are you able to enlarge it? Thank you. Now, it's common cause, it can't be disputed that this is where a lot of the wrangling take place.
Yes.
That is correct.
Now, in relation to the situation in the kitchen, can you please indicate where was the second intruder standing as you and Senzo were busy fighting him?
La.
Okay.
Just right there.
Yeah.
There's a point between the door and as well as the cabinet that was pointed by the witness.
Thank you.
With the light, yeah.
Then immediately, where was he facing? Was he facing towards the door, or he had his back against the door?
bebheke ngaphakathi endlini.
He was facing inside. In other words, he had his back against the door.
Now, am I correct to understand it that Senzo was facing him? In other words, they were looking at each other face to face.
Yes.
That is correct.
And when you hit him with the clenched fist, I don't want to assume, where were you? Were you on his side? Were you behind Senzo when you hit him?
Bengiseceleni kwaSenzo bemla lo muntu bemla
Yes.
Senzo ayabambana naye phambi kwami bengimla eceleni.
Wow, okay.
I was just alongside Senzo. That is where the person was
Eduze
standing
nje yes.
against the door.
Yes.
And then in front of him was Senzo.
Yes.
Just next to Senzo, on the right-hand side of Senzo.
Yes.
It was myself.
Thank you. Now, you are asking you a question to indicate as to where was the the first intruder, the Rastafarian, the person who had dreadlocked in relation to the kitchen, yes.
Sike sinye isithombe esivela kakhulu bebe Samuel bona la.
Okay.
Samuel.
Isn't there another picture perhaps that is with
Bebe Samuel yes.
There was somewhere there. The bottom of that picture, right at the bottom of that picture, the
Yes.
center bottom,
Yes.
it's just been pointed out.
Because ikhishi lakhona lincane.
It's a small,
Yes.
confining space, that kitchen.
So would I then be correct to understand you to say that the first intruder who had dreadlocked was a bit behind you as you were fighting the second intruder with Senzo?
Yebo kunjalo.
Yes, it is so.
And you, to be honest with you, unless you're going to tell this court that you had eyes that could see at the back as well, you could really not tell what was happening at your back.
Yebo ngengikwazi ukusho because ne movement so ngengikwazi ukusho but babe la emva kwami nje.
Yes, I cannot tell what was happening. Even though there were some movements, I cannot really tell what was happening.
Thank you, sir. Now, how long have you known Senzo up until the 26th of October 2014?
Ayisidi manje siside kakhulu.
It was a very long time.
Because even umthoko simaze kamuva sinoSenzo. Even naSenzo maze kamuva yes.
It was a very long time that I've known Senzo.
The sum is
Even
called
though
Senzo.
we only knew him later on, myself and Senzo.
Thank you. Let us try to give an estimate, put it in more than 20 years.
20 years in Pambe?
Yes, more than yes.
More than 20 years,
Yes.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to request you to listen very carefully to the following. The court, this court,
Yabona le nkantolo esibuyo manje.
has heard testimony from two people who were in the house that day, specifically Thokozisi and Zandile.
Ya ngiyakuzwa.
I hear that.
Now, both of them had told the court that the wrangle in the kitchen between Senzo, the wrangle in the kitchen was between Senzo and the person who had dreadlocks. Do you understand that?
Oh, yeah, this is-
Ya ngiyezwa.
Yes, I hear that.
So would you still say that according to your observation, the tussle was between Senzo and the second intruder?
Ya ngabavumela lokho. Ngabakuvumela ukuthi balo nalowo babambisana lo okuqala because wena umuntu oqala wavelela la eminyango.
I would agree with that there was some tussling that took place between Senzo and the first intruder. Because he is, by the way, the first person to have appeared in the house in that particular spot.
Yes.
There I would agree with you.
Okay, thank you. Let me further explain it so that we are not in doubt with what I'm trying to say. They say the wrangle was between Senzo and the person who had a firearm, who had dreadlocks, up until the first shot went off.
Ngizokuchaza ke lokho.
I will explain that.
Yabona umuntu mezoma lapha ngomnyango ongenele dining.
So if a person comes and stands at the door that leads into the dining room or perhaps the lounge,
angeke ujampele kulo wesibili ongakabonakali because mawula edining angeke ujampele kulo wesibili.
because if you are inside of the dining room, you are not going to be storming now to the second person that is not visible to your side.
Yes.
Kwakumele aqale ngaye lo ukuthi kwaenda pha kanjani esebamba lo wesibili bepushelana kuze kufika ngasesicabheni angazi kwakwenzela kanjani konke lo.
The initial tussle was with the first one.
Yes.
As to how he eventually got to have a tussle with the second person, I don't know how it happened. And then pinned him against the door there. I don't know how it came about.
And okunye makuqhuma isibhamu
Another
isibhamu
thing.
siqhume sesilana nosenzo ngasemnyama.
When the firearm went off,
Yes.
myself and Senzo were by the door side.
Yes. Thank you. Let us park that one. Just a second, because I quickly want to attend to this other one as well. You have said you have known Senzo for 20 years. Am I correct, therefore, to assume that having known Senzo for 20 years, there's no way in which you would have mistaken him for somebody else in the house?
Hayi ayikho leyo nto ebengeke yenzeke leyo.
No, there's nothing like that. It wouldn't have happened.
Thank you.
Such a thing wouldn't have happened.
So if Senzo was embroiled in a tussle with either the first intruder or the second intruder, he would have been able to identify or to see that Senzo is now embroiled in a tussle with this particular intruder, and so.
Kahle kakhulu.
Clearly so.
Thank you. You were saying something about the entrance into the dining room and everything. Maybe just to get your explanation, to get a clearer picture of what you're trying to explain, may I request that probably the sketch plan be beamed?
Yeah, akakusho advocate angakhona because mangazi ukuthi akakusho le straight ukuthi uthe.
I
That
must do now.
is what you could have said. Perhaps you can say that, advocate, that this is what I said.
Mr. Madlala,
Yes, advocate.
I don't want to say things that you could have said because I might not say them the way in which you said them. I want you to say them yourself. Do you understand? Thank you. Now, can you please come again with that explanation that when the person is standing there, you could not have done this, you should have done that, and all those things?
I beg yours?
I'm saying, may he kindly again come with that explanation of his, where he said a person from the dining room could have done this, or this might not have happened, you know, all those things. Those things that I don't want to repeat on his behalf.
Uyangilahla advocate. Just go straight to the point ukuthi
You're confusing me.
uyangiconfuse manje.
You're confusing
Because
me.
bengibuza omunye umuntu.
Go straight to the point. Just go straight to the point because there's another person that I was asking that.
There's another person who does what?
Lokho ukuthi bengikusho bengingakusho kuwena.
Whatever that you say that I was saying, I wasn't saying it to you.
So when advocate isho straight okusho kimi ukuthi uthe la nala nala then sikhulume phezulu kwaleyo nto.
Just say the exact words that I spoke. Refer to what I had said. That this is what I had said. This and that.
You say you want me to go straight to the point.
Yes, advocate, please.
Yeah, but advocate.
Thank you. Mr. Madlala,
Yes.
I normally hear people saying, well, I don't know how far true is it, that there is no rush in South Africa. Rush is in Russia where they rush. So I don't know if there is a bunker wood here. I don't want to rush you. As it is the court, madam. I've said to you, there's a point that I would want us to park. I'll immediately come back to it. I'm back to that point.
Ngiyakhumbula.
Yes, that is what I want you to explain. There is something that you wanted to explain about the movement from the dining room into the kitchen and all those things. Can you please re-explain that? Repeat
No,
it.
let me start with the witness. The witness is correct. According to him, this is what he said when he was being cross-examined by Mr. Rapeleti, for instance. Now you're saying to him, there's something that you said that you went to the dining room or this or that or that. It can't be a question. Put it as he uttered it.
As it please the court, my lord. Let me try to paraphrase you.
I think I'm with you.
You said as the tussle was happening from the dining room into the kitchen, Senzo was in commotion or was fighting the gentleman with or the person with the firearm, not so.
Yes, uqala kwakhe nje ukusukuma uqale kulo. And engayedwa bekhona no Kelly no Zani.
The first time that he stood up, he accosted this particular person. He was not alone.
Yes.
He was with Kelly, Nozani, and Zani Kumar.
Yes.
Thank you. Am I correct, Mr. Madlala, in saying that in your evidence, I can't remember whether it was in evidence in chief or when you were being cross-examined, you said at the commencement of the tussle from the dining room, you actually were not a participant, you were seated down.
Not exactly ukuthi bengihleli phansi.
Yeah.
Yena umuntu uqhamuka ngihleli phansi. After sekusukuma abantu benami emva kwalokho ngisukumile.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not exactly. When the person appeared,
Yes.
I was still seated. And the people then stood up, and they were the very first people to stand up and accost that particular person. And then I also stood up.
Thank you. But am I then correct if I understood you to mean that you got into the fray after approximately everybody was involved or got involved in the fray?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, according to you, Senzo accosted the person with the firearm and pushed him into the kitchen, being assisted by all those who were in the house.
Yes.
So,
Yes, uqinisile.
That is true.
but then subsequent thereto, Senzo is now fighting the second intruder. And you also get into the fray for fighting against the second intruder by assisting Senzo to hit the second intruder with the bench fist.
Yes, intention yami kwakuphuma.
Yes.
And advocate angeke yichaze yonke into ebeyenzakala each and every step because ngingachaza before.
Yes, my intention was to exit and further advocate. I cannot explain every little detail of what was transpiring in there.
Yes.
Because nginezathu zami advocate. Makwenzeka into kanje mawuthola sesimene sikanje. Ngeke ngachaza before ukuthi kulula komunye umuntu ukuthi athi hayibo kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi enye into ngalinganisela ngani.
Yes.
Ukutholile eyale imoto ziyale kodwa uyithola ukuthi isigcini lapha ngalawana ukuthi ibheke kanjani ngala. So ezinye izinto awuzazi zenzeka kanjani because wezenzeka fast. Yabo. And isimi ngikusona ngaleso sikhathi. Funa usunderstand now.
Because I had my own reasons. There are times when things are happening, and another person who was not a part of that predicament that you find yourself under would ask you questions. They would, ask you, how did this happen? How did that happen?
Yes.
Let me give you an example. For example, you are driving in this lane.
Yes.
All the cars are moving into that direction. All of a sudden, your vehicle is now turning and perhaps skidding around in the road and facing a different direction within the same lane. Now you ask yourself, how are you going to deal with that particular situation?
Thank you. I want to be very sincere and honest with you.
Yes.
That actually does happen.
In
In human nature, it does happen.
Yes.
You probably had read my mind because I would have asked you, how did you then Senzo let go of the first intruder and went into the second intruder?
Mhlawumbe sicabanga ukufanele ngakho sibancane kanje.
Maybe we're thinking alike, and that is
Me
why
and you.
maybe we're thinking alike, and
Okay.
that is why the both of us are slimmer like that.
Aye.
Yeah, ngiyakuzwa
Proceed.
ukuthi yeah,
No, I
ungaqhubeka.
hear you. Advocate. You
okay.
can proceed. You
Yeah.
can proceed.
But you know the gist of the testimony that we got from Zandile and Mtobezo Sitwala is that from the dining room where you were seated up until the kitchen where finally the shot was heard, Senzo has at all material times been in tussle with the firearm person, although along the road or on their way to the kitchen. But tutulana no SB.
Mr. Mnisi indlela ayicabanga ngakhona leyo nto uyayisho kimi.
Is it how you perceive this whole thing, or Or are you putting it to me? Is it your perception about what transpired there, or are you actually putting it to me?
I'm telling you what this court has had from Thokozisi and Zandi.
Indeed.
That's not true.
That is not true.
Njengoba ngisho
No,
ukuthi
it
masiqhuma
is.
isibhamu besinawo senzo la ngasemnyango.
As I have already said, that when the firearm went off, I was together with Senzo there by the door.
Yes.
Ukuthi ke icourt awuyisho into oyicabangayo wena. Yabo icourt ngeke into oyicabangayo. So engisho ukuthi isiqhuma nje isibhamu kuqala besilano senzo naye ngasemnyango.
Now it's that a person cannot really express what they are thinking before this honorable court. But what I am trying to explain to this honorable court is that when the firearm went off, I was together with Senzo there by the door,
Na lo muntu omude.
including that intruder.
Now the second intruder.
Sikhuluma ngalo wesibili.
Yes.
That's correct, yes.
We are together there. That is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
But on the other hand, two people who were in the house, in the same house in which you were, who witnessed the same incident that you witnessed, have come and told this court that as and when the shot went off, Senzo was in tussle with the firearm guy. So you're saying they saw something wrong?
No, ukuthi ngiyaconfuseka. Into edala ukuthi ngiconfuseke.
I get confused, and this is the reason why I get to be confused.
Into edala ukuthi ngiconfuseke.
Yes.
If basho njalo, angengeni kakhulu into nabayishilo. Since ungibuza ngazo, if basho njalo bona if bethu senzo bebhizi nalo sibhamu. Bona bebhizi nobani.
Now, I'm not going to dispute what they are actually saying. If they say that Senzo has been busy or tussling with this particular person that was in possession of the firearm, who were they busy with in the first place while that was happening?
And Mr. Mnisi lo ngitshela kona kuyikona.
Yes.
And Mr. Mnisi, whatever that I'm telling you
Yes.
is the truth. That's how things happened.
Be rest assured, Mr. Madlala, I am not saying that you're not being dishonest with this court. And I'm not saying that they've been dishonest with the court, which is the reason why we're trying to probe. Indeed, the fact that you're just mentioning that you're getting confused. Everybody is confused. The court is confused. I'm confused. Colleague for the state is confused. May I withdraw with the greatest respect the very first portion of the confusion thing. I mean, I am confused. You are, in fact, let me start with you. You've just said you are confused. It's true. You are confused. I am confused. My colleagues seem to be in 6s and 7s. My colleague for the state seems to be 9 and 10s about confusion. This is the reason why we're requesting you to unconfuse us. Is it you who's telling the truth in terms of your observation, or they could be mistaken? You know, mistakes do happen in the process of observation. Not so.
Mr. Mnisi, bangabuza kahle, ngiyengezwe ngestatement sakhe ukuthi wayebona through iwindi kunomuntu oyigqoka isikipha esimhlophe.
Now, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
I heard the statement from Kaya
Yes.
that there is a person that was standing at the window with a white T-shirt.
Yes.
So wayezombona kanjani umuntu engekho la eduze kwesicapha kuma ngithi mina first intruder ibisemva kwakho. Kwamela ibone mayilepha wayibona kanjani usenzo la wayifunani la ngaseflastereni.
No, he wouldn't have noticed or perhaps witnessed that
Yes.
if indeed the intruder was not on the door side. And what was Senzo doing there at the window if there was no one also that was from behind me?
Because lokhaya uthi wabona umuntu enesikipha esimhlophe la ewindini.
No, because Kaya said that he saw a person with a white T-shirt at the window.
Yes.
Nginamanga.
Am I lying?
I thought you were trying to unconfuse us. Now, you're taking us from the...
So ekuchaza khona ukuthi
Understand.
lokho engisho ukuthi besilana lo muntu ngasefestereni ngasemnyango. Kuyiqiniso.
Yeah.
That is why nokhaya abona.
That actually means that the fact that we were on the door side, close to the
Yes.
window there,
Yes.
it is the truth.
Yes.
Which is the reason why also Kaya could see the same thing.
Mr. Madlala,
Yes, Mr.
I
Mnisi.
thought when you started to prefer that explanation, or to give that explanation, you were responding to my request that you should unconfuse us. But what you just did, you took us from the frying pan into the fire. You took us to the deepest end. We felt confused.
Was
The witness is giving an explanation. How can it be said that it's confusing? If my learned friend has got an issue with it, he can raise it in argument.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Mr. Kaya.
Tumelo Madlala.
Oh,
Tumelo Madlala.
Mr. Madlala, I'm sorry, sir.
Someone is confused.
Mr. Madlala,
Yeah, Mr. Mnisi.
thank you.
Yes, Mr.
Would you then agree with me that what you have just said, you have said, and what Thokozisi and Zandi have said, they're not the same, they're different.
I-statement zabo ngaze ngayifunda, everything ngizwa la ecourt. So ngaze ngayifunda. Wonke umuntu la wenza statement sakhe.
I've never read their statements. I only heard about their statements right here in court. Every person is concerned with their own statements.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. That which they have told to this court, and that which you have told to this court, not the same.
Akusibo umsebenzi wami ukubona lokho. Okwakho Mr. Mnisi, I think ukubuza mina ngesami esiqondeni nami. So mase songena kakhulu kwezabanye abantu angeke ngicwazi ukuchaza ngazo kakhulu. Ngizochaza ngale kubhalwe yini okwasayinelwa yini.
I won't be able to explain the contrast of the statements.
Yes.
That should not be coming to me.
Yes.
Mine is to just give my statement based on what I had said.
Yes. Now, on the basis of this glaring contradiction, would it not have been a dreadful error of a mistaken identity on your part that the person who you saw being in tussle with Senzo, wherein you came to assist, was accused number 2?
Ngizange ngilenze iphutha Mr. Mnisi and soze ngalenze iphutha ngale ndoda le. Njengoba ngikusho lokho ngikhuluma ngento engayibona soze ngisukele umunye umuntu nje for nothing.
I've never made a mistake, and I will never make a mistake, Mr. Mnisi. I will never just go and point a person who's not the real culprit. This is the person. I've never made that mistake.
Without laboring on this point, Mr. Madlala, Zandi and Tumelo said, as and when...
Zandi and me?
Thokozisi. I'm so... When Zandi and Thokozisi told this court that as and when the shot went off, the person that Senzo was fighting with was the person with dreadlocks, as against the fact that you are saying, as and when the shot went off, the person that Senzo was fighting with was the second suspect. Do you understand?
Ngiyakuzwa lokho ngeke ngikhulume ngakho kakhulu lokho kwecourt ukuthi judge mina ngithulela ufakazi bami Tumelo Madlala.
I cannot delve much into that. That should be left in the hands of the court to decide.
Thank you.
I am merely presenting the evidence that has to do with me.
Thank you.
Tumelo Madlala.
Now, on the basis of that analogy and on that contradiction, I'm putting it to you that you had made a terrible mistake in your identification of the person who Senzo was in tussle with as and when the firearm went off.
Mr. Ramsey, please represent the accused number 2. I don't know on what basis is counsel now making the submission. Has he got instructions to the effect?
As it is a court, my lord.
I'm listening.
Thank you, my lord. My lord, it is immaterial whether I'm here on behalf of accused number 3, or on behalf of number 4, or on behalf of number 5. But in circumstances where I realize, or it is realized, actually not only me, but my colleagues here at large, that there's an aspect that needs to be brought to the attention of the court, which ultimately is going to assist the court to come to a just and an equitable finding, I will be doing a very grave injustice, my lord, to keep that under my armpit.
Okay, again.
Because at another level, my lord, my integrity as an officer of this court will be called to question. And I don't want the thing to happen to me now. Thank you, my lord.
ake silungise lento yephutha Mr. Mnisi.
Asilungise.
Mawuthi ngenza iphutha.
Yeah.
Angenzange iphutha.
Let's fix this mistake that you're referring to, that I committed an error there. I did not commit any error.
Yes.
By pointing lo ngiyakutshela nama ngisangampointa na after 20 years. Angenzange iphutha ngento ubulungiswa lapho.
You see, when I pointed this one out,
Yes.
by me pointing at this person,
Yes.
I did not commit any error.
Yes.
And I'm saying that even after 20 years,
Yes.
I will still point him out.
Yes.
That is not commission of error.
Yes.
That is called justice.
Something is pretty good.
Kusebenza into. Hawu, ungakwazi Mr. Mnisi nesikhathi sonke kodwa ushona.
Don't worry, Mr. Mnisi. We've got all the time here. That is what you said.
Thank you. Mr. Madlala, I see you very adamant that even after 20 years, I've just mentioned to you that with years and age, people lose who they are with a lapse of time. Finally, my parting shot is, in as much as you strongly believe that it could have been the second suspect that you saw on that day, you believe might have led you to make a grave error of a mistaken identity.
Lokho kubona Mr. Mnisi lokho kubona mhlambe kumina. Yazi ukuboniswa yini? Ave kumnandi ukukhuluma into oyaziyo. Akufani umuntu okhuluma into angayazi.
You know, it's
Let's one mfuthu.
the energy that I actually have. It is so good. It feels good. Because now I'm talking about a person that I know. It's unlike talking about a person that you don't know. That's why you see me with this energy.
Thank you. I said that was my parting shot.
Yes.
A mistaken belief on the identity of a person. That will be my parting. Thank you, Madam. No further questions.
Thank you.